On the evening of June 6th at Saratoga Racecourse, Golden Tempo crossed the wire first in the Belmont Stakes. 2 starts in the Triple Crown. 2 wins. The Derby by a neck. The Belmont from the outside post. 1 horse has been in the frame both times. A neck behind at Churchill Downs. 3rd at Saratoga 5 weeks later. A son of Into Mischief, trained by Todd Pletcher and ridden by the brother of the jockey who keeps beating him. His name is Renegade. On August 29th, they meet again. Whether Renegade is closing the gap or proving it was never close enough is a question only the Travers can answer. To understand what the Travers means, you need to see how these two got here from opposite directions. The 2026 Kentucky Derby had 18 starters and a pace that destroyed the front of the field. The 2 horses who came out of the wreckage were trained by different barns, owned by different stables, built for different styles of running, and ridden by brothers. Jose Ortiz on Golden Tempo. Irad Ortiz Jr. on Renegade. There is a moment from the first 5 seconds of that race that changed the shape of every meeting that followed. By August, the man who owns the horse who keeps losing would stand at a microphone and call Golden Tempo the best 3-year-old in America, then explain why the argument is not over. And whether Golden Tempo can keep winning without the pace collapsing in front of him arrives as a question at Saratoga on the 29th. Post position 1 at Churchill Downs. The inside rail in an 18-horse field on a cool May evening in Louisville. Todd Pletcher knew the draw was a problem before the gate opened. Renegade had won the Sam F. Davis Stakes and then the Arkansas Derby with the kind of authority that makes a horse a headliner. He was an Into Mischief colt bred by Robert and Lawana Lowe and owned in partnership with Mike Rapole. He had the speed figures. He had the tactical versatility to sit anywhere in a field and still deliver a closing kick. He had Irad Ortiz Jr., one of the best riders in America, in the irons. What he did not have was room. The gate sprung and Renegade broke to the right. In the first 1/16 of a mile, he was bumped, knocked nearly sideways, squeezed between horses, running at full speed, with no interest in giving ground. Pletcher would call it a pretty rough first 16th. That is, generous. By the time Irad had the colt balanced and moving forward again, the early speed had already established a 3/4 mile fraction of 1 minute, 10 90 of a second. The pace was suicidal. Every horse near the front was going to stop. The closers would inherit the race. Renegade is not the kind of horse who panics after trouble. That is the thing about him that separates him from the other 3-year-olds on this channel. He does not carry what happened in the last furlong into the next one. He recovered. He settled. He waited in the back half of the field while the pace burned itself out ahead of him. Around the far turn, he began to pick up horses. He swung wide at the top of the stretch and came running with the reach of a colt who still believed he was supposed to win this race. So did another horse. Golden Tempo, ridden by Jose Ortiz, had been 18th of 18 and invisible to the broadcast cameras for nearly half the race. The 2 brothers hit the stretch together, 2 horses reaching for the same wire. Golden Tempo got there first. A neck. Jose Ortiz stood with tears running down his face in front of the press afterward. He said he wished his grandfather could have been there. He said his brother should be proud. Irad said his horse ran a very good race. He said it was Jose's day and Golden Tempo's day. Then both men went home to the same family. If you appreciate what I am doing here, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. Now let us dive back in. 5 weeks separated the Derby from the Belmont at Saratoga. Renegade shipped to Pletcher's barn on the Oklahoma training track within days. He settled into the routine as if Churchill Downs had never happened. Golden Tempo stayed at DeVoe's base at Keeneland in Lexington and did not arrive in Saratoga until the Monday of race week. The morning line told the story the professionals wanted to tell. Renegade was the 2-1 favorite. Golden Tempo was 9-2. The handicapping logic was clean. Golden Tempo was a dead closer who had finished last or next to last in every start of his life. He needed pace in front of him to close into. The Belmont field had almost no early speed. A CBS Sports headline called Golden Tempo a must-fade. The market said Renegade turns the tables. The Belmont morning line said Renegade was the better horse. The race said something different. 9 horses loaded at Saratoga on June 6th. Renegade drew post 4. A clean break this time. No bumping, no traffic, no excuse. Golden Tempo drew post 9 on the outside. The pace unfolded exactly as the handicappers predicted. Slow, moderate, nothing collapsing. This was supposed to be the shape of race that Golden Tempo could not win. He won it anyway. Golden Tempo came from the back again. He closed with the same acceleration that had carried him through the stretch at Churchill Downs 5 weeks earlier. At the wire, it was Golden Tempo first, Commandment second, Renegade third. The Derby loss had an alibi. The rail draw, the rough break, the first 16th of a mile that Pletcher could replay and explain. The Belmont had no such explanation. Renegade got the clean trip he had been denied in Louisville, and Golden Tempo still ran past him. The question the Rivalry had been avoiding landed on the table. Is Renegade simply not as good? The days after the Belmont were quiet at Pletcher's barn. Rivalry did not make public declarations. Irad Ortiz Jr. went back to riding the daily card at Saratoga. The colt trained. The calendar moved toward the Jim Dandy in early August. Then the news came from the other side. Golden Tempo was sick. A post-Belmont illness had interrupted his training, and DeVoe pulled him from the Jim Dandy. For the first time since the spring, Renegade would run without Golden Tempo, standing in the next stall at the gate. At Saratoga on the 3rd of August, Renegade loaded into the Jim Dandy as if the race did not concern him. Down the backstretch, he trailed pace-setting Chip Honcho by 10 lengths or more. The crowd at the spa could be forgiven for thinking he was not going to fire. Irad Ortiz Jr. knew better. He was executing exactly the plan he and Pletcher had discussed. Sit. Wait. Let the front runners spend themselves. Find the moment. The moment came on the turn. Renegade picked up speed the way a horse does when something inside him unlocks. He moved through the field as if the other horses were standing in place. At the wire, he had half a length. It was not the victory of a horse who had accepted defeat. It was the victory of a horse who had been told twice that the answer was no and did not believe it. Rivalry stood at the microphone after the Jim Dandy and said what nobody expected. Listen, the best 3-year-old in the country right now is Golden Tempo. How can you say he is not? The owner of the horse who just won was publicly conceding the crown, but Rivalry was not surrendering. He was reframing the fight. He wanted a shot at the Travers. After the Travers, the Breeders' Cup Classic at Keeneland on October 31st. The 3-year-old championship is not decided in 2 races. It is decided across a full season. 2 wins do not close the book if the horse who lost keeps showing up and keeps getting better. Both horses are at Saratoga now. Golden Tempo recovered from the illness and is back in training for DeVoe. Renegade is on the Oklahoma side with Pletcher. 2 barns separated by a road. 2 brothers who pass each other on the way to the track every morning. The contrast between them shows in how they run. Golden Tempo does not exist for the first half of his races. He sits dead last. He waits. Then he fires a closing run so sudden that horses in front of him do not see it until it is over. He is a hostage to pace. If nothing collapses in front of him, the closing kick has no room to land. The Belmont was supposed to prove that. It did not. Renegade adjusts. He can stalk the pace from 3rd. He can close from 15th. He reads what is in front of him and adapts. The professionals say the flexibility is the edge because it means Renegade is never a prisoner of one scenario. And yet, twice this year, the horse who needs everything to line up has beaten the horse who can handle anything. August 29th, Saratoga. The Travers Stakes, Grade 1, the Midsummer Derby. The race that defines the 3-year-old season outside the Triple Crown. If Renegade wins, the championship is wide open. If Golden Tempo wins, it may be over. The last time these two stood in the same gate, one of them finished 3rd. That horse just won the Jim Dandy. The other was too sick to run. Both are healthy now. There is no legacy act for this story because there is no legacy yet. Both horses are 3 years old and both are still running. The rivalry is not a memory being examined from a distance. It is happening right now on the same backstretch at the same track. The Travers is the 3rd meeting. If the pattern holds, Golden Tempo wins and the conversation ends. But patterns break. Renegade's connections know that better than anyone. They watched their horse get knocked sideways at the start of the Kentucky Derby, come back and lose the Belmont without excuses, and then win the Jim Dandy as if none of it had ever happened. The horse does not carry his losses forward. That is either the quality of a champion who has not yet arrived or the quality of a horse who keeps getting close without getting there. Only the fall will tell us which. After the Travers comes the Breeders' Cup Classic on October 31st at Keeneland. If both horses arrive healthy, that race becomes the last word on the 2026 3-year-old championship. Jose and Irad Ortiz would ride against each other in the richest race on the American calendar. The family does not get to step away from this rivalry. It follows them home. Renegade has 2 Grade 1 victories of his own. The Arkansas Derby in the spring, the Jim Dandy in August. But the 2 wins that matter most belong to someone else. The Derby and the Belmont are Golden Tempos. To change the story, Renegade does not need to match the resume. He needs to beat the horse. Head to head. No alibi. No absence from the gate. Both colts in the same race at the same distance on the same afternoon. The record reads Golden Tempo 2, Renegade 0 in head-to-head meetings. After the Travers, one of those numbers changes. Either the streak grows or the 0 finally breaks. At Saratoga on August 29th, the question of whether Golden Tempo can win without the pace falling apart in front of him gets its answer. The field will set the fractions. Golden Tempo and Renegade will settle the rest. If you like this story, do not miss the next one appearing on your screen right now.